Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty decline after a range-bound session. Mid-caps outperform and the index closes in the green. Oil marketing companies fear crude prices crossing $95 a barrel as they already incur cash losses. Industry sources say under recovery on a litre of diesel is close to 10 rupees a litre. Under recovery on petrol now nearing 2 rupees. The World Bank forecasts India's FY24 GDP growth at 6.3% compared to 7.2% last fiscal, attributes the slowdown to a waning base effect and slowing global growth, but adds that India will remain one of the fastest growing major economies and see robust domestic demand. September auto sales paint a mixed picture. Maruti sales figures come in below analyst estimates. M&M witnesses strong SUV sales, but tractors are a drag. Hero Motor and TVS sales exceed analyst estimates. Bajaj Auto's sales show a drop on account of a higher base last year. Vedanta shares rise after announcing a six-way split as investors hope the move can unlock value. Anil Agarwal says steel asset sale will be completed this fiscal and a strategic investor is likely to be roped in for oil and gas, copper and zinc businesses as well. Plays down fears over debt and promises to honour all payments due in 2024. That's an exclusive. Real money gaming companies get fresh tax notices worth at least 49,000 crore rupees from authorities in Mumbai. Dream 11 stares at a GST bill of 28,000 crore rupees in addition to the 18,000 crore rupee notice received earlier. Games 24/7 faces a tax demand of 21,000 crore rupees. JSW Infra listed at a 20% premium, making a strong debut on Dalal Street. Meanwhile, a CNBC-TV18 analysis of 75 IPOs since 2022 shows 90% have used part of their proceeds to reduce their debt. 31 patients, including 16 infants, die in the last 48 hours at a government hospital in Maharashtra's Nanded. The 500-bed hospital was reportedly treating more than 1,200 patients. The state government forms a panel to investigate. The Delhi police raids several journalists and commentators working with media outlet Newsclick. Registers cases under the stringent Unlawful Activities Prevention Act to probe the source of funding of the news website. The Editors Guild and Press Council of India say the raids are deeply concerning. But straight to the market action of the day. The Dalal Street ending in the red after a range-bound session. The Nifty and the Sensex fell 0.5%, but the Nifty managed to stay above the 19,500 mark. Bank stocks declined, but mid-caps bucked the trend. So that's the story. The mid-cap 100 closing about 70 points higher. The Sensex down by about 300 points. The Nifty Bank losing 180 plus. And the Nifty 50 was down by about 100 points. A lackluster day of trading today. Remember, we were shut on account of holiday on Monday. In the oil market, crude oil prices down over 1% after touching three-week lows in the previous session. This on the back of a strong US dollar, rising bond yields and mixed supply signals. But prices remain elevated, with Brent trading above $90 a barrel, and that is a concern. Now, rising crude oil prices are taking a toll on oil marketing companies. Sources tell us that oil marketing companies are already incurring cash losses with the under-recoveries on diesel at nearly 10 rupees a litre. Sapna joins us now with more details. Sapna, crude prices above $90 a barrel, worrying the government and worrying oil marketing companies as well.
Well, industry sources are indicating that they are already probably incurring some cash loss on diesel. Particularly, we're given to understand that the diesel under recoveries could be as high as 9 to 10 odd rupees a litre. And these under recoveries could have been higher had it not been for the set-off available against the export cess and the good refining margins of OMCs. So net diesel is not looking good at all. As far as petrol is concerned, I think here the under recoveries that are being indicated by companies is between 1.5 to 2 odd rupees a litre. LPG, there's no worry as of now, but prices are on the uptick and it's being closely watched by the OMCs. Now, the H1 for OMCs has been pretty cool till crude oil was trading at $75, below that, and then below 80 also. So that's going to help the companies cushion some of these losses that we are talking about. But if crude oil prices continue to be at $95 and above, and the upward range is not being ruled out as of now, then clearly it's going to be a concern, and somewhere this is going to impact the bottom lines of OMCs.
Sapna, many thanks for joining us. Now, the World Bank has forecast India's GDP to moderate to 6.3% fiscal. The Global Financing Organization has attributed this to challenging external conditions as well as waning pent-up demand. However, it highlighted that despite the global challenges, India is one of the fastest-growing economies. Take a look.
India will still remain one of the fastest growing major economies in fiscal year 23-24. What is driving growth in fiscal year 23-24? First, very strong public investment, helping power growth forward. This, of course, going forward will need to be complemented by an equally dynamic private sector investment. The second thing that is driving growth in fiscal 23-24 is strong services growth, both in terms of domestic consumption as well as export of services.
Well, that's the World Bank's view on India. Rating agency CRISIL and ICRA have indicated that India Inc.'s credit quality for the first half of the year is fine, but not as great as last year. The number of upgrades for the period are twice the number of downgrades. However, this is lower than last year, where upgrades were 5 times the number of downgrades. Infrastructure, services, hospitality and autos have all seen upgrades, while export-oriented sectors like textiles and chemicals have seen downgrades coming in. That tells you the story as far as the external economy is concerned. Moving on, auto sales present a mixed bag for the month of September. Sales of Maruti Suzuki below analyst estimates, with growth remaining in the low single digits. M&M has seen strong SUV sales. However, on the tractor side, the segment has witnessed some weakness. Among the two-wheelers, Hero Moto and TVS sales ahead of analyst estimates. Bajaj Auto sales fell owing to a higher base last year. So that's the report card for auto sales for the month. Now, the big newsmaker this evening, Vedanta Resources Chairman Anil Agarwal has called the proposed 6-way split of the company as a win-win for all shareholders. Shares of Vedanta did perk up in trade today as investors hope the proposed demerger will unlock value. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Agarwal said a strategic investor could be roped in for some businesses. He also played down fears over debt. Nigel is standing by with the top highlights from that interview that he did with Anil Agarwal. Nigel, sum up for us the big takeaways.
The big talking point today was Vedanta. And I spoke to the management, I spoke to Mr. Anil Agarwal, and there were 5 big takeaways. So let's run you through them. He believes that shareholders will have the flexibility with this entire restructuring process that he's announced. And he says that everyone will be on board because it's a win-win. So he believes that, in fact, the shareholders, the creditors, the government of India, everyone will give this particular announcement a thumbs up. Next up, he's talking about selling one of their assets. And this demerger is okay, but the bigger focus is going to be when they sell those assets. And he says that the steel asset will be sold. He's received plenty of interest. And by the end of this fiscal itself, that'll be out of their books, which is good news. Next up, he also says that besides the steel asset, well, he could be looking at bringing in strategic partners in some of the businesses, maybe in the copper business, maybe in the zinc business, or maybe in the oil and gas business as well, because he says, as of now, some of these businesses are not getting the real value. So that could be another option. Point number 4, which is very, very important. He says there's no need to worry with regard to Vedanta Resources debt payments. Remember, the street is a little bit worried because a couple of maturities come up, namely $1 billion in the month of January. And later on in 2024 as well, you have another $500 million out. So he says both those two are secure. They'll be either repaid or refinanced, but no worries in terms of a default. And finally, he says that from now on, creating shareholder wealth is priority. He's going to be looking at corporate governance. And also he says that all these businesses will be professionally run. So those are the 5 big takeaways coming in from that interview with Mr. Anil Agarwal. In fact, let's hear out what he had to tell me earlier today.
We have a phenomenal response for our steel and iron ore sale, which can be taken care of the entire debt. And we believe that by March, we'll be able to complete that transaction too. Anybody want to produce green steel? This is the only site where we have a gas availability, complete infrastructure availability. As somebody want to produce 15 million ton, internationally people are very keen to have some step into India. So this is the best opportunity for them. When the demerge happen, people are looking forward to invest because we'll be producing green aluminum. People are looking to take small equity large companies, large private equity, they're looking forward. So whether it's oil and gas, they can be strategic partner can come in. Oil and gas, copper, very, very keen people are there. Zinc, very, very interesting. Silver, recycling. We have about $1 billion payment in January and $500-600 million payment in August. Both are completely lined up. If you get a good terms, we will refinance. If otherwise, we will have enough cash. We can work out. But both are very, very open.
Well, that's Anil Agarwal there on the demerger plan. Bandhan Bank has said that it has successfully completed the migration of its core banking system and internet banking to a new platform. However, several customers continue to face issues accessing internet banking and online services. Following the scheduled 3-day maintenance break, many customers taking to social media to raise their concerns. JSW Infrastructure makes a strong debut on Dalal Street. The stock listed at a premium of more than 20% over its IPO price of 119 rupees and gained further during the day. This is the first listing from the JSW Group in 13 years after JSW Energy listed in 2010. JSW Infra's public offer was subscribed by more than 37 times. On to a CNBC-TV18 analysis. 90% of Indian IPOs since 2022 have used part of their proceeds to reduce debt or fulfill working capital requirements. Now, this trend is completely opposite the earlier tradition where IPOs were used by companies to mop up equity capital to fund their future growth and expansion plans. Hormuz is standing by with more details. Hormuz, take us through the analysis that you've been able to go through over the data that you've gathered.
You know, there was a time when the IPOs were used to fund capex plans of companies for their growth, expansion, but that priority seems to have changed over the last year or two. Now, we have taken a list of IPOs that came out starting 2022 till date, and there are a total of 75 such IPOs. Now, out of them, 14 IPOs are purely an offer for sale, so they are not taken into consideration because the company does not receive any money through that. Now, these 75 IPOs have raised over 91,000 crore rupees, of which almost 60,000 crore is through the offer for sale mechanism, while the rest comes from the fresh issue of shares. Now, this number is also skewed because of large IPOs like LIC. They had a 21,000 crore IPO, which was entirely an offer for sale. So, the number is skewed. Now, when we come to the remaining 61 IPOs, which were either a pure fresh issue of shares or a combination of a fresh issue and an offer for sale. Now, even in those 61 IPOs, 1/3 of them have the offer for sale component to be higher than the fresh issue, and the major highlight is that out of those 61 IPOs that we are considering, almost 90%, or which is 54 such companies, have highlighted that they are using the IPO proceeds, at least part of them, to repay debt or to fund working capital requirements. And 38 of those companies are using the proceeds for capital expansion or for acquisitions or inorganic growth. Now, coming to the 7 companies that did not use their proceeds to repay debt, and that includes companies like Delivery, Radiant Cash Management, Global Surfaces, SBFC Finance, and the recent listings like Rishabh Instruments and Yatra Online. So these are the 75 IPOs that we have analyzed so far starting 2022. The primary objective is to reduce debt, and there are more lined up for the rest of the year as well. So let's see what that brings in for the shareholders going forward.
Well, we will be looking at what the data tells us. Thanks very much, Hormuz, for joining us with the analysis of the 75 IPOs so far. Up next, real money gaming companies get fresh tax notices worth at least 49,000 crore rupees from authorities in Mumbai. That and more when we return. Well, there is more trouble for online gaming companies with tax officials knocking on their doors. Tells CNBC-TV18, the Director General of GST Intelligence has sent tax notices to Dream11 and Games 24/7 demanding 40,000 crore rupees between them. Timsy Jaipuria joins us now with more details. Timsy, I mean, these are significant amounts that are being sought by the tax authorities.
Yes, well, that's right. The taxman has now sent fresh notices to online gaming companies, and this time it is the centre. Remember last what we heard when Dream 11 went to Bombay High Court filing a writ petition that was against Maharashtra state GST audit. Remember, GST is a combination of state and centre, and that is what it is now finally over here also, where earlier notices, demand notices were sent by Maharashtra state GST audit worth about 18,000 crore rupees to Dream 11, and now it is the centre through their investigating arm DGGI Mumbai zone sending fresh notices to Dream 11 claiming about 28,000 crore rupees for not paying appropriate GST as charged to be against the rate of 28%. Also, another company which has received tax demand notice from DGGI's Mumbai zone unit is Play Games 24/7, which has got a demand of about 21,000 crore rupees. Remember, these demands are since July 2017 till March 2022, and these are based on inappropriate payment of GST. That is, these companies paid GST on 18%, but ideally they were supposed to pay on 28%. And as we speak, from 1st of October this month itself, with the new GST Council decision coming into effect, that all gaming companies, casinos and race courses, they will have to pay GST at 28%. Back to you.
All right, Timsy, many thanks for joining us. Well, this is definitely going to go down to the courts, something that we are going to be watching closely. A quick check of the national headlines tonight. 31 patients, including 16 infants, have died in the last 48 hours in a government hospital in Nanded in Maharashtra. The government has formed an inquiry committee to probe the deaths. The hospital has a capacity of 500 beds, but was reportedly treating over 1,200 patients. The Delhi police has raided several journalists and commentators working with media outlet Newsclick, registered cases under the stringent Unlawful Activities Prevention Act to probe the source of funding of the news website. The Editors Guild and the Press Council of India says the raids are deeply concerning. Strong tremors jolted Delhi and parts of North India after multiple earthquakes struck Nepal. The second quake was of a magnitude of 6.2 on the Richter scale, tremors being felt across the national capital region. In international headlines, shares of Evergrande surged as trading resumed following its suspension from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Shares of the property developer were suspended after its billionaire founder came under the lens of the Chinese authorities over unspecified charges. The stock has lost around 75% of its value since August. The criminal trial of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried will begin today in the U.S. District Court of Manhattan. The 31-year-old faces 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy in connection with the collapse of his crypto trading platform. Prosecutors are also expected to present evidence alleging that the FTX founder flouted campaign finance laws. If found guilty, Bankman-Fried could face over 100 years in federal prison. Apple says it's working on fixing a software bug and an app issue for causing its latest iPhones to become hot to touch. The smartphone maker said it would update the iOS 17 operating system that iPhone 15 devices run on to fix a glitch that is making the phones become warmer than expected. The company is also working with developers to make changes to the app that overload the system, causing the phones to overheat. Former BP CEO Bob Dudley has responded to the exit of his successor at the company, Bernard Looney. Last month, Looney abruptly left the company for not disclosing romantic relationships with colleagues. The Financial Times reported that Looney was accused of promoting women with whom he had undisclosed relationships, and these relationships occurred before he took helm at BP. Speaking with my colleague Parikshit Luthra, Bob Dudley, the former CEO of BP, said he was sad and surprised about the allegations. Dudley also said he did not know anything about them when he was CEO. Take a look.
I'd like to ask you about the exit of Bernard Looney, the CEO, in light of undisclosed relationships from BP. Does this somehow put a question mark on appointments he had a say in and his decisions as the CEO of the company?
No, it's a big surprise. It's a little bit sad that it happened, but BP is a great company with great assets, great cash flows, lots and lots of good people. And the company is not dependent on one person, man or woman. So I'm not too concerned about it. They'll make some new decisions. They'll make some new appointments, and the company will just keep moving along. And I imagine with a little bit of time here, it'll be sort of be an ancient history story. Certainly, I knew nothing about these allegations. I know my deputy CEO knew nothing about it, and I know the board knew nothing about it. So, I mean, I feel like I wish I had known, and maybe a little naive about it, but no, I think this just surprised everyone.
Well, that is the former CEO of BP, Bob Dudley, there talking about the ouster of Bernard Looney as CEO of BP on the back of undisclosed relationships that forced his exit. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.